And so that will, everybody has to agree saying, hey, it's being recorded. And I'm just
Tap audit.
making sure it works. And so that will, and it does. All right, fantastic. We are recording. So Al, you're welcome to share your screen, whatever you want to do there with current events. And I encourage you, Al does a great job here at the end. He'll put up a PDF with all the links that'll be mentioned during the presentation also. So go for it, Al Trivet. Thank you so much. This is such a great,
Oops.
great tool.
Can you see me?
You
Can you see
bet.
it?
Well, you can see your
Okay.
screen.
Okay, great. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. Things are a little slow this time of the year, but Apple's released a few little tidbits for us. They released Mac OS 12.1. That's the major point release to OS Monterey that includes support for the company's SharePlay feature. SharePlay feature is attached to FaceTime. It allows users to share media with their friends and family. For example, if users are on a group FaceTime call, they have the ability to simultaneously view videos, device screens, or listen to music together. Very handy. Next up is Apple's released iOS 15.2 and iPad OS 15.2. It's quite a few little goodies here. One of the things is Apple Music Plan. It's a new subscription tier that gives you access to all songs, playlists, stations, and Apple Music using only Siri. The Just Ask Siri suggests music based on your listening history, your likes and dislikes. And the Play It Again feature lets you access a list of your recently played music, all from Siri again. Under privacy, Apple Privacy Report in settings lets you see how often apps have accessed your location, photos, camera, microphone, contacts, and more during the last 7 days, as well as their network activity. Under messages, communication safety setting gives parents the ability to enable warnings for children when they receive or send photos that contain nudity. The safety warnings contain helpful resources for children when they receive photos that contain nudity. The Siri and Search expanded guidance in Siri Spotlight and Safari Search to help children and parents stay safe online and to get help when unsafe situations present themselves. One of my personal favorite new features is the digital legacy under your Apple ID. Allows you to designate people as legacy contacts so they can access your iCloud account and personal information in the event of your death. Something when you get my age, I need to be thinking about. The camera.
Well, let's expand on that just a little bit. So,
Yeah.
the idea there is that all your devices, when you pass away, Apple makes you really jump through hoops and stuff to make sure that it's the person is able to access it. But this legacy thing is great because you can set up. Oh, let's say you even just become so you start to lose cognitive abilities and things like that. It really does give someone an alternative to get in and handle your digital subscriptions and things like that. So this is very, very good, and it's something that I encourage everybody to look at. And it's in the new 15.2 that got released 2 days ago.
Yeah. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. Following along with what Ken said, here's a link here that from Apple Insider that helps you set up your legacy contacts. It's really pretty straightforward, and I'll also include an Apple support document. I'll put this will all be in the chat links here, but the legacy contacts and stuff, the key to it is that the primary account holder must have died, obviously, before legacy contact can access the account, since Apple performs checks to verify before providing access. This saves the user from prematurely giving away access and maintains their privacy while they're still alive. Really very helpful. It's terrific. Also, along with iOS 15.2, I guess the CarPlay has some enhanced city map that details turn lanes, medians, bike lanes, pedestrian crosswalks in some of the supportive cities. I've witnessed some of that in some of my travels lately. Whenever I use Apple Maps, very helpful. The TV app has the stored tablets you browse by, rent movies and TV shows in one spot, and there's a new camera setting there for folks who have the iPhone 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max that allows macro photo control for switching from the ultra wide lens to capture macro photos and videos, and that can be enabled in the settings as well.
And that's because now it's automatic, so now you can do it manually.
I believe so.
Switch it.
I don't have
great.
a 13, so I
Actually,
can't
I'll
confirm
check it
whether
right
or not.
now.
Yeah, very good.
I've used it already. You
Have you?
bring the lens really, really close to something that automatically switches into it.
How you like it, Bob? Pretty good.
That's good. It's almost as good as Halid, but just a hair. I think Halid is just a hair better.
Okay. Like I said, I'll also include this legacy contact support document from Apple here. And moving along here, I guess Apple's also released watchOS 8.3 to the public. It's mainly bug fixes and improves some overall performance and stuff. And here's another Apple Insider link that details what it's done here. And next up, Apple's released tvOS 15.2. It's an update that I guess works in conjunction with some of the Apple Music voice and more and stuff. Essentially, it's a new update. It focuses mainly on platform stability and some bug fixes and some ecosystem improvements. And also
SharePlay.
Yeah, and SharePlay, of course. And there's also, I guess, in conjunction with it, there's a HomePod software update 15.2 also is released to the public. And for a bit more detailed overview, this is a link that I'll put in there from iDownload blog. It outlines in a bit more detail here into the nuts and bolts here of some of the latest features and some other adjoining links and stuff. It's pretty helpful. It's kind of where I've got today's synopsis from. And finally, it's the approaching the end of year, and our Apple stock has done pretty good. Looking at the chart here, I guess today's 179.3, and so lots of scuttlebutt about Apple heading towards becoming the first $3 trillion company. So it's been good. Looking forward to even better days. Looking forward to seeing next year's Apple glasses and who knows what other inventions they've got up their sleeves. And of course, the next iteration of the hopefully the M2s. Maybe we'll make an appearance latter part of next year. But looking forward to all of that. Anyway, all these links will be posted in the chat links, and I'll compose a PDF with all the chat links and post them on the MacNexus Facebook page, and we regularly post stuff there of interest, and not just the Apple world, but in the tech world that I find of interest. And that's all I have for the moment. It's kind of been uneventful, other than a few releases and stuff.
Well, thanks as always, and Al always posts that up on the Facebook link too. But like I said, all of these links he'll have in a PDF for us. So that's great. Excellent job, Al. Very, very much appreciated. If anybody has any questions on any of that stuff, feel free to speak up. This is a good time. Okay. Moving right along. So now we want to see if there's any volunteer or member announcements. This is where if you have anything that you want to get rid of or anything else, or any volunteer announcements from or member announcements. If anybody has anything.
I'll do a reminder here.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, in January, we have a variation in our schedule. Ken's first Saturday class will be on January 8th, the second Saturday, because the first Saturday, of course, is New Year's Day. And then this meeting, which has been on the third Wednesday most of this year, because of a conflict in the schedules, we're switching it back to the fourth Wednesday.
And I'll be updating that on the subscription calendars.
Yeah, and I've been putting that out on the blast, but just one more reminder doesn't hurt.
Very good. Very good.
Good deal. Anybody else? Anything of interest? Feel free to speak up. This is a good time.
Well, it sounds like from what Al was saying that you're recommending 15.2.
On iOS 15.2, yeah. On iOS,
Pretty stable.
iOS, I always say update. And, Monterey's been pretty darn solid. And I think while we held off on Catalina, rightly so, and Big Sur's only recently kind of gotten mature enough, I think Monterey's pretty close in there too. So I don't really see too many issues with that. In fact, I think Monterey is probably even a little bit better than Big Sur. But it's careful. It's only the 0.1 release right now. And like I always say, if there's no compelling reason to update or upgrade, don't do it as far as the Mac operating system unless you really have something that it's got that you want. But as far as iOS, I always go right away with them. They're very solid. Apple does a good job. There were a couple little hiccups with early iOS 15, but 15.2 is good. And in fact, it adds some new features more so than you would normally get in a point upgrade like that. So pretty darn good. And then once you do it, then it'll ask you if you want to update your watch and go from there. Mary, go right ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if it's my imagination or what, but it seems like every time I pick up my iPad, all of a sudden there is a website / advertisement to a product or something that I haven't necessarily made any inquiries about. Has anybody else noticed that?
Well, when you pick it up, is it a notification that you're getting on the main screen?
No, I should say
Safari?
When I hit Safari, it feels like it's just a new website that I didn't think I had any interest in, and it just appears.
Wow, all the time?
Often.
And is it the same website?
Mm-mm.
Huh.
So obviously it's not a problem other people
have. You rebooted it?
No, I'll try that.
I would reboot it, and if not, also then after that, if it doesn't do it, do a hard reset.
Okay.
And that'll be something where you can do button combinations. Al will post a link, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I just thought it was something with the new operating system, the new iOS.
Shouldn't be. No.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, no.
Oh, well.
I would
Bev,
ask
go
one more
ahead.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Well, not a question.
Mary, do you have a particular website set as your home page for when Safari first starts up? So
No.
that you go to the same place every time?
No, I'll try that.
Yeah, that might help also.
Thank you.
Yeah, good point, Bob. Bev, go right ahead.
Is now a time that I could just do a positive share about a trip to the Apple Store?
Woohoo!
Absolutely. That's member announcements.
Positive share. Always. Always got time for that.
Well, I made the decision to get a new watch, but to keep my old Apple 10s phone. But the battery was down to 75%. So I went to get a new battery at Apple. And I mentioned to them that the audio wasn't very good. And I had to actually listen through my hearing aids. And he looked at the phone and he very quickly identified the problem. The speaker was full of lint and crud. And I feel like I have a brand new phone now. He cleaned that out, put a new battery in, and I was pleased also that they did the diagnostic to make sure everything was up to speed and working properly instead of just slapping in a new battery. So
Nice.
And what's the current price on the battery? Is it 49 or 79?
neither 69 plus tax.
69. Okay, good.
Yeah, on that. I don't know if they're all the same price or not. That's for the 10X.
Well, you know, and you were at 75%. So how that works when you go into settings, battery, and look at battery health, at 75% means when her battery is charged to 100%, she only has 75% of what it had as far as power since it was new. And 75% is pretty low. So I'm sure your phone is a little faster and you can get through the day now.
Oh, it's like a new Philly.
Yep. Pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Good job. You know,
get through the day.
when people always wonder about Apple products, you know, first of all, Apple products have resale value. 2 years later, you can almost get half of what you paid for the thing. Any Android, there's no such thing as resale value. And when's the last time you saw a Samsung store? I rest my case. It's called the Apple tax, but those of us that know better know it's really not a tax. It's the Apple benefit. And when you have tech support, you're getting usually someone in North America. So good job. Glad to hear it. Al's posted a couple more links as usual. He's the link machine. All right. So that was member announcements, and we actually kind of went into tech Q&A. So Bob, we didn't have any questions emailed in this time, did we?
Nope.
Okay. So
Got one, Ken.
I'm opening it up. So go right ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I've got one. I'm wondering if you'd be willing to do a little discussion of the Apple AirTags in terms of their security and the ability of others to track them and so forth.
Yeah, good question. So I'm sure everybody or a lot of people read the article about, oh my gosh, the thieves are able to track high value cars because they put an AirTag on them. Well, again, it's the news, and if it bleeds, it leads. So in theory, yes, that can be done. So an AirTag, let's talk about an AirTag for a second. It's a device that if you buy a 4-pack, they're $100, so they're $25 each. They're a little thing about the size of, remember the old Neckos, you know, the old wafers, they're a little smaller than that, but they're basically quarter size and about 3 or 4 quarters thick. And they have a little battery in them. The battery lasts about a year. And you're able to put them on your devices. For instance, I just traveled a lot and I had them on my suitcase and I had them on my backpack. And then once I was in a hotel room, I would transfer one of them, and I should have taken more. I only took 2, but I would put it in my Scotty vest. So if I were ever to leave it behind, I could track it. But secondly, it gives you a reminder. Like, for instance, my suitcase would be in the hotel room and I'd go out and doing a tour during that day. Well, as I just got away from the hotel room, it would say, your AirTag called Big Suitcase is not with you. And so I'd say, oh, okay. And I just say, no problem. Or if it was a place I was going to be at for multiple days, I could say, oh, go ahead and trust this place. So don't remind me if I leave, if I leave this place and do it again. But anyway, so the AirTag is very, very beneficial. I can track it when I went from one airport to the other when my suitcases came. But the way that it works is if I have an AirTag active, obviously it only works for Bluetooth around where I am. But let's say it's down at the bell desk at the hotel. If other people have an iPhone 12 or newer, they have the chip that can anonymously relay that my AirTag is in that position. So in other words, as someone walks by with an iPhone, it can pick up that I have an AirTag. It doesn't do anything to the person's iPhone and they can't do anything about it. But then it reports back that, oh, this is a new location for my AirTag. So for instance, if the baggage handlers had iPhones on them, it would be able to ping and tell you where the new location is. And it keeps updating because it can only project its signal out so far. Up to 100 feet is the max. So the beauty of that is it really can get connected and you can follow it and different things. There's a great YouTube video out about a guy who emailed an AirTag or shipped an AirTag to Kim Jong-un, to Tim Cook, and to a few other people, and how it went through its journey and all that stuff. It's a great video to watch. Anyway, but recently I bought a Murphy bed off one of the people, a wall bed off somebody that lives here, and I had to rent a U-Haul truck. So I'm going along in this U-Haul truck, and a little thing pops up on my iPhone, and it says, "You're being followed by an AirTag that's not you." And I immediately knew what it was. The really smart U-Haul place put an AirTag, hid it somewhere in the vehicle. But since it wasn't my AirTag and it was essentially going the same way I am, Apple's anti-stalking thing for the AirTag said, "Oh my gosh, you're being followed by an AirTag that's not yours." So let's think about a stalking situation, whether it be someone trying to follow a car or carjack, or an estranged spouse trying to follow another spouse. If they have an iPhone, it'll pop up and say, "You're being followed by an AirTag that's not yours." So I think that's a really unique, a super good way for Apple to do it. Now, until 2 days ago, if you had an Android device, too bad. But they actually now have an Android app that Apple developed, so it would also tell them if an AirTag is following them. So I think that's good. It's the only way to do it. This whole thing about being able to steal cars, there's other ways to track people and steal cars than an AirTag. And so I think that's much ado about nothing. But you do get alerted that there's an AirTag following you that's not you, or that's not yours. So AirTags are very useful. They're a little too thick to put in a wallet. You can get, and so the AirTag itself comes and you need some sort of holder for it, like a luggage tag hook or something like that. It's also a great thing for animals. You know, you could put it on an animal's collar, and it's really small. It's not intrusive at all, and you can do that. And you can put it on different things. Many people are hiding them in their bicycles, in the tube of their bicycle. So things like that. It really does make tracking pretty good. And again, that battery, it's waterproof, and the battery lasts for about a year. So, Dennis, did that kind of go down what you were looking for?
Yes, thanks very much. I'm considering getting a set of those for Christmas gifts and so forth.
I think it's a great Christmas gift, and they can also be engraved. So what I did for my engravings, it's free engraving, is I put my name on it, and then I gave it number 1, 2, 3, and 4, so I could instantly. You get 4 characters, 4 letters, or you can do icons and me emojis and things like that. So that way I can easily identify them. But also you get to name your AirTags for whatever it is. Like one of mine was backpack and one was big suitcase. And you can always change those. But and then you can get an icon of what it is. And the nice thing is, once you've activated the Find Me, now what happens is if I leave, like for instance, my iPad mini, if I leave it in a hotel room and I leave, it will alert me, "Oh, you've left your iPad mini behind." And I go, "Oh, okay." And I realize, "Oh, no, that's okay. I meant to leave it behind." So those things are wonderful. Same with the phone. and it can be with a laptop if it's on. But this stuff is really, really, really neat, and it's transparent and it's very easy. So, any
Great, thank you.
questions on that Find Me or AirTags?
No, but I have a question about security with G5.
Okay, hang on one sec. Let's ask about anybody with AirTags. Anything? Okay. So are you talking about 5G on a router or 5G in the on the cell phones?
On the phone, security.
Okay, what's the question?
Well, I guess how does that work if you're doing your banking and you're on 5G or G5 and you're not in your own space? I do my banking at home. So if I go somewhere and I'm on,
Well, actually, so it's not just that has nothing to do with 5G. That's cellular network. It used to be 3G. It was 2G. It was E before that. It was LTE, and now
Okay.
5G. They are the cellular network, and in fact, the cellular towers, if other than your home Wi-Fi, if you're at a hotel or something or in a public place, you're much safer using the cellular network because it's encrypted end to end than you are using some rogue Wi-Fi, because with the rogue Wi-Fi there's a possible, and it's ever so slight, exploit called a man in the middle attack, where they just kind of, the man in the middle sees the traffic. But it's highly unlikely you're vulnerable with that on an Apple product. There's a lot of stuff out there about 5G and the worry about 5G. Well, just to rest assured is the majority of the 5G that's being used out there is the same radio waves that they used to broadcast 3, 10, and 13 on before we had HD TV. So there's nothing new and unique about 5G. There's all this scare about it and all this, but it's fake. It's totally fake, and it's not a problem.
thank you.
Yeah, 5G is mostly in the tighter city areas because and that's the other thing too, is the towers don't transmit as far, so they have to have at least 4 times as many towers to get it. But once you do, there's some incredible signal strength happening out of it. In fact, T-Mobile is even offering home internet now to replace your AT&T or your Comcast or one of those, and they have a home internet setup that comes in over cellular, and it's $50 a month, including the equipment, and there's no contract, and it is up to 200 megabytes in speed, and it's pretty darn good. But it has to be in an area where you have a strong tower. So, and the nice thing is you can try it out. If you don't like it, there's no contract. You just send the little gateway box back, and that's for home internet. So, any other questions? Since we're doing tech Q&A, we've got plenty of time. Go ahead, Bev.
My question is with the calendar, and when one enters a date in a different time zone than you normally live in. I was in Central Standard Time Zone and entered a date for February 24th, and I put it in at 4 p.m. Now that I'm back in Pacific time, it shows it at 2 p.m. It's converted even though the event is here in California, it says 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, but it really is going to be 4 p.m. Pacific time, and I don't know how to get it changed back, short of deleting it and writing the whole thing again. I've looked yeah.
So that was for me a big difference because I was 10 hours difference. And what I do whenever I'm not sure about that, in the title of the event, I put the time in there
Mhm.
because I want to make sure I get it correct when it comes back. But what you can do is in your calendars, you do a thing, you can either have it be always set on the Pacific time zone, whether it be Pacific Daylight or Pacific Savings Time, or you can have time zone support where you put it in and it figures out what time zone you're putting in and doing it that way. And it depends on your device how that's set up. But my default is I usually keep my calendar on West Coast time, and then I adjust it on the calendar. And I always, though, when I know I'm doing it in a different time zone, I put a time in the title so I can always check it later.
And you know of a way that I could go in? I mean, it's a small thing, but that one can change it. I mean, because mine says retirement party 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, but it's
Yeah, well, when you double click on it, can't you change the time zone there?
like I just tapped on it.
Are you on the iPad?
No, I'm on my phone.
Yeah, I think on the phone you can go in and change the time zone, but you're, and again, I find that sometimes it's easiest just to redo the time to what it is now.
Yeah,
But it's weird with the time zone support, but that's what I did it on this trip and it worked out pretty well. But as a double check, I made sure I put the time in separate things.
yeah. So when you travel, you leave your calendar to maintain it in the Pacific Coast time.
If I'm traveling in the U.S., yes.
Yeah.
If I'm traveling internationally, no.
Okay. All right.
It has to do more with in my frame of mind. It's am I making these appointments for during my travels, or am I making these appointments for when I get back?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the ramifications, and yeah, then you just go into settings and change it to default to West Coast.
Yeah, you can tell it's called time zone support
Yeah. Okay.
is the setting in your calendar. But just because you do it on your Mac doesn't mean it happens on your iPad or your iPhone. They're all pretty independent.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
And just a little thing along with that too, because while my phone was updating pictures at that time, I don't ever reset my big camera to time zones. So when I go into photos, I can take a whole batch of all those photos that I took with my Sony camera, and I can change it the time there, 10 hours different. So that's what you can do. All right, great question. Any other questions for Tech Q&A?
Hi,
Go ahead, Vic, and then I'll go to you, Elaine, after that.
thank you. I'm absolutely new to the group. This is my first meeting. I'm enjoying it immensely. I live in Chico. Our local Macintosh users group is imploding, and so I wanted to reach out.
Well, and feel free to let other people in
Welcome.
the Chico group know,
Absolutely.
because by Zoom we're all very close.
We're equidistant, that's right. Anyway, I have submitted a membership application and a check this week, but I know it takes a little while to get this processed. But I appreciate being with you. If this is an inappropriate question for your group, I totally accept that and apologize in advance. But I have an iMac and a MacBook Pro, and I'm having problems with printing. A couple years ago, Kim Commando was very enthusiastic about Epson ink tank printers, and so I bought one. My wife's PC works flawlessly with it, and I've downloaded the software, upgraded the software, all the things you do, and mine's never worked properly with it. And so in frustration, I went to Costco and bought an HP Envy and just cabled it directly into my iMac, thinking I would win this war. And now my Envy is reading that cartridge cannot be used until printer is enrolled in the HP Instant Ink program. So in other words, I have to, my printer's being held hostage for,
Being held hostage.
for yeah, being held for ransom for.
Well,
something.
let me ask you this.
Yes.
Can you how long ago did you buy that printer?
Oh, it's probably been close to a year, and I
On
just
the
I use it
HP?
so rarely. Pardon me?
The HP?
Uh-huh. And I use it so rarely. My needs are simple. If I had something that consistently printed black and white and maybe 30 or so pages a month, I'd be perfectly happy. But
Well,
anyway,
but hang on. I have a question on your HP.
thank you.
Is that a brand new printer?
It's about a year old, yeah.
Oh, but this is the first time you put an ink cartridge in it?
Oh, no. I changed the cartridge, in fact, but now it won't print, and it's refusing to print until I enroll in their
All right.
program. which is a little
So first of all, the
The
Instant
answer.
Ink, the Instant Ink program is a very cost-effective program.
I know the answer.
okay.
Okay, and Bob White, go right ahead, Bob.
The cartridges, did you get the cartridge from the store? Or did you get the cartridge from HP?
I did buy another cartridge, I think, from Costco.
Well, okay, so my answer is no good, but I will, just for everybody's information, if you're in that program, the firmware in the cartridges is different if you get it from the replacement program where they mail it to you, as opposed to what they sell in the store. And you might have that other cartridge and it's blocking you because it can't reach out to HP servers.
Sure. Thank you. That's really an interesting insight I hadn't considered.
Well, I'm one of the original members of that program. I've been doing it for 6 or 7 years now. It
Okay.
does save a lot of money, but if you're a low volume printer like you are,
Yeah.
it's probably not worthwhile.
That was what I was thinking, and I haven't even looked into it to know what the price is, but I'm not really interested in buying, having stacks of cartridges around the house.
Yeah.
I just don't use it that often.
Well, and actually with the Instant Ink, they basically send it to you and you send them back to recycle. But regardless, now I'm curious about the EcoTank that you have.
Uh-huh.
What version of the operating system are you running on your Macs?
The current one, Monterey, whatever it is.
Monterey, Big Sur.
I always update whenever iOSs or software updates are made available.
And that could
compulsive
be
about
the
that.
problem with the EcoTank because,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Well, mine didn't make any hiccups. My HP inkjet, no hiccups with the Monterey. So
Uh-huh. Slid into
All
it.
right. Well, welcome. And, feel free to tell the other Chico people. And what we generally say is, invite them to one of these classes. And I say, give them 2 or 3 classes. If they like what they're getting, then they can become members also. So,
That's wonderful.
it's
And
try before you buy kind of thing. And the nice thing is, when you are a bona fide member, you get to participate in the raffle. And tonight we're giving away $400 worth of raffle prizes. So,
Nice.
yep.
Thank you so
Anyway,
much.
welcome.
sad to
Elaine,
hear
you got a
about
question?
MacChug, though.
I'm sorry, Bob?
I am really sad to hear about MacChug. They're one of the oldest groups.
Wow.
Yeah. I was a member of BMUG at one time. I mean,
Wow.
I
You
got some
do go way
roots there.
back.
Yeah, I have some roots with them.
Wow.
But anyway, I was really saddened to see it go too. We've been a good group for a long time, but attrition, we're old people.
Yeah, and age. Yep, that's it. Elaine and then Mary. Go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah, so I'm ready to upgrade my iPhone SE to a 15.2. And I started doing that today and it didn't finish. And I got some little bit of a cryptic message saying, you have to temporarily, no, it didn't say you have to. It said something like temporarily remove some apps, I think to make room for the new upgrade, because it takes up quite a bit of space. And it didn't say you have to do this or we're going to do it automatically for you. So I was just a little confused about that. So apparently it's a big piece of data and I need to make room
Well,
for it.
yeah. So first of all, you wouldn't want it to remove apps automatically because that could cause other issues. But the reason it needs so much room is the old operating system is completely intact, and that uses 4 to 5 gigabytes of space. And the new operating system is there, and it takes about the same amount of space. And so what happens is it doesn't want to get rid of the old one in case something fails. So it needs a little bit of overhead there. Now, if you go into system preferences, settings, and go to iPhone storage, it'll give you some suggestion on things you could maybe do to create a little more space. Like, for instance, GarageBand takes up 1.2 gigabytes, and you probably never do GarageBand on your phone.
Right.
So things like that you might want to look at. And remember, any app can be re-downloaded if it's the app, but don't delete an app that also might have some storage in it. For instance, the Photos app, it's got stuff with it.
Right.
The other thing is it'll give you some suggestions. You may have a lot of videos on text messages or things like that taking up room, but look at the suggestions on how to manage the space on that.
And can you remind me how to remove an app that I'm not using anymore?
Well, you can go into that, and again, most apps don't take up much room, but in that iPhone storage and manage screen, that's the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Because it will give you some options.
All right. Thanks.
And it'll also tell you how big they are. So again, you're not worried about the little ones. It's the big ones that make a big difference. Okay?
Thanks, Ken.
All right.
Or hold
Mary.
your finger on the app, press on the app, you get a pop-up screen. One of the choices is to delete the app.
On the home screen.
I missed the first part of that.
On any of the screens. You press on the app's icon.
Press and hold.
Press and hold.
Press and hold. You get a pop-up menu, and then you can choose delete.
They start shaking. They get really nervous, and
Yes.
and I'll just posted a link to it like clockwork.
Very good. Thank you.
And you'll
And
get
then
a second message.
apps you can always re-download, but most apps themselves don't take up room. It's what's attached to them.
Right.
All right, Mary, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to tell Vic that when I got a new computer and it has Monterey on it, now when I print to an HP printer, I have to unplug it and plug it back in, and then it prints, and it doesn't scan anymore. So since I haven't needed it to scan, I haven't really pursued some of the things people have mentioned to do, but I had trouble with it as well. But my printer is like 4 years old, I think.
Yeah, Mary, you might be able to try re-adding the printer a second time. Don't delete it. Just add it a second time in system preferences, because that might get you an update on it. And Vic, I didn't even think about that. Is your printer, have you checked the firmware? The HP should be, well, you said you hooked the HP up direct, which
Yes.
means you didn't hook it up as Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Because with the Wi-Fi, it will phone home and do all that. And also that's how you can update your firmware. So you might go through that brutal process and see if that fixes it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it phones home then, but it's going to be no worse than it is right now. But in fact, it will probably do a firmware, and you may be able to do it and see.
Okay, that sounds like great advice. Thank you. I'll follow up.
You're
I do a
welcome.
follow-up on Vic here.
Yeah.
He isn't our only new person tonight. Vic will be a member in a few days. His check is in the mail. Mr. Keith Flucker is on board with us. He just joined several days ago.
All right, Keith, welcome also.
Welcome.
The natives are friendly. All right. Anybody else? Any other tech Q&A? Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and go into the keynote and
Ken, can I interrupt you for just a minute, please?
yeah, go right ahead.
We have a member signed in as iPhone. If we could get
Oh, is that
the
a
last name for the
yeah, because our drawing, you have to have your first and last name show up. So if you logged in as iPhone, you're going to want to tap the screen, go to the three dots, the ellipsis, and go in and rename yourself because we need first and last name because Mary and Lisa are checking the membership roles to make sure that the raffle is only available to current members. All righty. So we already talked about this. Bob brought it up. Next year, the meeting day will be the fourth Wednesday, and I'll update I think I already updated the subscription calendars. So I have to apologize, you guys. I guess it was a little tough getting the meeting connected and stuff while I was gone, but I was having lots of fun, and this is the Treasury in Petra, and it was awesome. And if you look in the upper right corner, that was a henna tattoo of the Apple logo. So they do these temporary tattoos over there, and it's called henna, and it works on the proteins on your skin. And it lasted, in fact, yeah, it's completely gone now, but they last for about 2 weeks. So I had an Apple tattoo, and I've got a quick little slideshow. It's 3 minutes long of a few of some of the places I went. So let's see if it'll play here. This is where they tan the leather for many of the big leather companies. A spice market, great spice markets in Morocco. This was a grandmother and her son and native, and we're on the Sahara Desert at sunset, and the traditional long-legged camel shot. And the Sahara dunes were just gorgeous at sunset. Absolutely remarkable. And that was our tough tent camping. It was pretty civilized. Sunrise the next morning in the Sahara, and then the hills were just on fire. It was just fantastic. By the way, the majority of these shots are iPhone shots, iPhone 13. This is us driving out in the Jeeps. Later on in the trip, in a little town called Erfoud. Just great sunsets. And this is shot with the iPhone. I have to, oops, hang on. I wanted to go back to that. Let me get to that. Oh, shoot. It's coming up here. So the iPhone has a night mode. So we were on top of one of these buildings, and it was a clear night. In the lower left corner, you can see some clouds, but it cleared up. And this is shot with the iPhone, the Milky Way galaxy, using the night mode in the phone. Now, the interesting thing on the night mode on the phone is it can go from 3 to 10 second long exposure if it's handheld and you want to hold it still. If the phone detects that it's on a tripod or even on a flat table, in other words, something that's not moving at all, it will go up to 30 seconds. And this was a 30-second exposure of the Milky Way with the iPhone. So, pretty cool. These are goats in trees. They're what's called the tree climbing goats in Morocco. These goats climb these trees because they can forage better and there's less predators. And the story is that goats have come in from other countries and stuff, and none of them can climb these trees, but these goats do. This is the argan tree, and argan, it has almost like a walnut with a pit that's part of the fruit of it. And argan oil is used in hair care products, and it's one of the highest end cosmetic oils, and it's derived from this tree. And they go in and they don't so much eat the fruit, they're after the leaves. This is on the coast of Morocco. Great columns, the Romans were there, the Greeks were there. This is a Colosseum that holds like 5,000 people, and just amazing columns. The markets, I love Central Markets and the spice and the foods, and just these ruins are just incredible. This is the oldest sculpture of a person anywhere in the world, and this is in Jordan. So it's pretty amazing. And let's see here. And then we have, I think, the two-headed version of it. They weren't very good sculptors back then. And this is what I went for. So Petra is amazing. This is going into the night. They have 1,000 candles lit. You go through what's called the Seek, and you walk in, and that's the view of the treasury. And this is it at night, lit by just the candles. And actually, the phone did too good a job with the light. That's it during the daytime. So the interesting thing with Petra is there's over 6,000 buildings, so to speak, but everything in Petra, where the Romans and the Greeks built things up with blocks, everything in Petra is carved, including this amphitheater. It's all carved out of the mountain and out of the rocks. And it goes way, way back. That's called the monastery. That was out of one big rock. Great museum. This is on the Red Sea, which I snorkeled at. This is just one of the evenings a storm was coming in. That's snorkeling down in the Red Sea. This was a sunset in Aqaba, and I happen to live in Sun City, but we stayed in the Wadi Rum Desert, and it was Sun City Camp is what it was called. So I went from Sun City in Lincoln to Sun City in Wadi Rum, and this is the traditional. I'm on top of the camel, and you don't want to take your hand off for too long on the saddle to take these pictures, but it was pretty good. And just 30 more seconds here. Just using the macro photography on the iPhone. This is actually the Dead Sea now, and the Dead Sea was pretty amazing. This is looking out from our hotel at the Dead Sea. And that's the mud bath on the Dead Sea. And that's floating in water that has six times the salinity of a regular thing. You cannot sink. In fact, when your feet are down and you're upright, you have to resist the urge to tread water. You just stand there and you let your legs go straight, and you're floating. You're up to your armpits in the water. You're almost like top heavy. And so the mud that they put on you is harvested right there from that, and then after you get done, they exfoliate you with salt from there. This is Ramses. This is the night show at the pyramids in Giza. And that's pretty much it. So I have to say the highlights of Morocco was the Sahara Desert and the goats in the trees. Jordan, obviously Petra, but in Jordan it was really cool to go in the Dead Sea and the Red Sea. And in Egypt, a sunrise balloon ride over the Valley of the Kings was definitely the highlight. So now I'm going to talk about, and I've got some web pages up, about new technology and stuff that's going on. And briefly, Apple has augmented reality. And you can go to augmented reality on Apple's website. It's apple.com/augmented-reality. And this has been out for a while. But I used the app I used augmented reality when I was there to find out where the sunrise and sunset was going to be. And you can see if it's going to be over a certain hill, because it uses the camera along with the GPS and all the calculations. But there's tons of stuff. Warby Parker uses it to, you put the glasses on your own picture of you, and it shows you what the glasses look like. There's IKEA uses it so you can see what the furniture would look like in your particular room. So part of the reason I'm talking about AR or augmented reality is we anticipate, and the rumors are that in the near future, Apple will have augmented reality. I don't know whether they're going to be glasses, goggles, whatever. But the idea of it is you could be out in the real world and you can turn your head this way and it'll tell you what's in that business. Or it can tell you what's going here. It might pop up the train schedule if you're at a train station. Things like that. So when we think about the tracking ability of the AirTags and we think about the augmented reality, Apple's been really heavy into augmented reality as a sideline for the last 5 years. And I think it's one of those things, Apple lets it mature for a while before they get into it. But indications are we're probably going to see some of that coming up. I have a short little video here. And this guy, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but the first few minutes of it is about some of the 10 best augmented
Apple
reality
is
apps.
convinced that AR is the technology of the future, but frankly, it hasn't really done a good job of showing how it will become a part of our everyday lives. So that's why I've rounded up the following apps. They're not necessarily the most polished AR apps on the App Store, but I think they're the best ones for showing how AR can augment our iPhone experience beyond, visually nifty gimmicks. It may be familiar to you already, but Apple's own Measure app, it's a good starting point. It's built directly into iOS, and it lets you make rough measurements with your iPhone's camera. And you can even take a screenshot of that measurement and send it to a friend. But again, keep in mind that these measurements are going to be rough, and we'll probably have to wait until Apple has depth sensors in the iPhone's rear camera before we really get some reliable.
So also the Measure app from Apple, if you have a box, if you have the phone measure the height, the width, and the length, it'll even calculate what's inside in the cubic measurements for you too. It's really pretty cool.
Accuracy. All that said, the Measure app does do an impressive job through machine learning alone. Next up, we have SkyGuide. This star chart app, it's been around for years, and I've always admired the way that it lets you use the...
So just for clarification here, you see the cityscape down below. The person holding the phone, that's the actual picture. And then that's the actual picture of the stars. But this information is superimposed over it because your phone has a compass in it and it has a GPS and it knows which way it's pointing, and it also knows how high up or down on the horizon you are. So essentially this information is being overlaid on what you're seeing through the phone, so you're able to see all this. And I'll tell you, I used it on the trip out in the desert when everything was so clear, and it's amazing what it does for stars. So this one's called SkyGuide. I had a different one I used. I'll have to pull it up and see what it is, but we'll continue.
iPhone's GPS to identify the stars that are above you. Before it had a camera-based AR mode, though, you had to look back and forth between the app and the sky in order to figure out what you were looking at. With the new AR feature enabled by the camera, though, you can overlay constellation maps on top of the night sky and learn exactly what you're looking at. Or you could even use it during the day and see what the sky will look like on a specific date. The not so elegantly named Sunseeker Sun Tracker the not so elegantly named Sunseeker Sun Tracker Compass kind of follows the same idea, but the focus here is on the sun rather than all the other stars.
I should say the sun and the moon. And I, in fact, used this app when we had the eclipse, 3 years ago. And we pre-spotted where we had 3 locations we were going to watch the eclipse from, and we checked them all out ahead of time, and we were able to change the date to the day of the eclipse, and it would tell us exactly, by holding up our phone, exactly where in the sky the sun will be on that date at that time for the eclipse. And we made sure that it wasn't occluded by any trees or mountains or things like that. So Sunseeker I use, it's great. And again, this is using a real scene to show you, in this case, the sun. You can see where it is, it's right there, but you can change that at any time, and it does allow you to do the moon.
Good app for showing where the sun will be in the sky at a specific time or day or date. It's also great for figuring out if a bedroom in a new apartment is going to get direct sunlight at some point in the year. In its camera mode, Sunseeker also shows trajectories for the summer and winter solstices. This way, you'll always be able to contextualize the current day's trajectory. IKEA Place is a reminder that great AR apps don't have to be so mind-blowing. The concept here is simple. You choose a piece of furniture that you're interested in from the app, and IKEA Place lets you see how it will look in your office or apartment. It's a good way to tell if a piece of furniture is really going to work for your room before you spend a lot of money on it. JigSpace reminds me of those interactive museum exhibits for kids, but in this case, you're tinkering with digital AR models. There are about 60 so-called jigs to choose from, and that includes everything from the Gutenberg press to lightsabers. With each model, you'll get a step-by-step explanation of how each device works, and that includes the fictional ones. AR game.
So that's pretty much, the rest are games. I don't want to go through the rest of the video on that. But, and then Sunseeker is here. I pulled up the website and it just kind of shows you what you can do. This is like 20 seconds. So this is at different times, different dates, etc. And you can see what's going on with it. Sunseeker is quite good. Al turned me on years ago to one called TPE, the Photographer's Ephemeris, and I use both of them most of the time. And it was really nice in the desert because I could tell when the moon was going to come up and things like that. So any questions on augmented reality or AR? I think we're going to see more and more of that coming up. And, there's AI, artificial intelligence. There's ML, machine learning, which means where it learns different things, and augmented reality. And I think you're going to see the melding of all three of those processes, and it's pretty exciting what's coming up. So the next thing is well, mind-blowing is a bit of a pun. And this is from a company called Neuralink. It's another Elon Musk company. And Neuralink is working on brain implant chips. Now, I listened to a long keynote. It was an hour-and-a-half keynote. Elon Musk and a lot of the top doctors and engineers with Neuralink were there. And they had some pigs that had the link implanted, and they were able to check the brain waves and things like that. And it's just a simple link. Well, it's and the pigs are treated really well, by the way. It's great. No, they're going through all that stuff. But the hope and in the future is the first things. I mean, going beyond the future where you'll control your car and your door and everything else by just thinking about it in your brain. The big part of this chip is if you have a quadriplegic or a paraplegic person with spinal cord injuries, Neuralink has, this is the future capability, and it's not too far away, where they would implant the chip, because the problem is your spinal cord is what delivers the signal from your brain to your neurons and your muscles to make everything work. Well, when you have a spinal cord injury, basically that's cut off. So if you could implant the Neuralink chip into the brain and then have your muscles and everything are still there, obviously the paraplegic or the quadriplegic would have to exercise because they've atrophied for so long. But in fact, they could stimulate those signals to the muscles and people could walk again. Unsighted people could see again. So this to me is just very compelling technology. And what I'm going to show you, so they've gone beyond what it was with the pigs, is they can tell the pig's brainwaves, because when the pig would eat, they would see what the brainwave would do and all of this stuff. So they're mapping the brain And when you and that's the brain's been mapped for a long time because there's so many neurological things that medicine can treat these days that they know where the neurons are firing and things like that. But what you're going to see here is a macaque that has learned to play Pong, and later on, and it kind of brushed right through it, you're going to see him play Pong not using the paddles, using the brainwaves. And to me, this is really compelling, and it's amazing.
This is Pager. He's a 9-year-old macaque who had a Neuralink placed in each side of his brain about 6 weeks ago. If you look carefully, you can see that the fur on his head hasn't quite fully grown back yet. He's learned to interact with a computer for a tasty banana smoothie delivered through a straw. We can interact with the Neuralink.
So by him clicking the dot, his reward is that he gets a little bit of a banana smoothie. So that's, the reward, and that's why he clicks the dot.
Simply by pairing them to an iPhone, just as you might pair your phone to a Bluetooth speaker. The links record from more than 2,000 electrodes implanted in the regions of Pager's motor cortex that coordinate hand and arm movements. Neurons in this region modulate their activity with intended hand movement. For example, some might become more active when he moves his hand up, and others when he moves it to the right. By recording from many neurons and feeding their activity into a decoder algorithm, we are able to predict Pager's intended hand movements in real time. First, we calibrate the decoder by recording neural activity as Pager uses the joystick to move a cursor to targets presented on the screen. As he's playing this game, we are wirelessly streaming, in real time, the firing rates from thousands of neurons to a computer. Using these data, we calibrate the decoder by mathematically modeling the relationship between patterns of neural activity and the different joystick movements they produce.
So you'll notice here, the joystick is unplugged. So he will still be doing the hand movements, but the joystick is not being controlled by his hand.
After only a few minutes of calibration, we can use the output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Pager still moves the joystick out of habit, but as you can see, it's unplugged. He's controlling the cursor entirely with decoded neural activity. Our goal is to enable a person with paralysis to use a computer or phone with their brain activity alone. Because they wouldn't be able to move a joystick, they would calibrate the decoder by imagining hand movements to targets. One of the things the Neuralinks allow Pager to do is to play his favorite video game, Pong. To control his paddle on the right side of the screen, Pager simply thinks about moving his hand up or down. We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink. As you can see, Pager is amazingly good at Mind Pong. He's focused, and he's playing entirely of his own volition. It's not magic. The reason Neuralink works is because it's recording and decoding electrical signals from the brain. Great game, Pager. And what better reward for a monkey than a banana? We still have challenges spanning many fields of engineering, so if you're good at solving hard problems and want to change people's lives, even if you've never worked with the brain before, we would love to hear from you.
So to me, that's pretty amazing.
So my wife got me this weird new...
Anybody have any questions on that? Because that was compelling, I think. I can't see the whole gallery if you have your hand up. Just unmute your mic and speak up. or raise your hand by hitting reactions. Or you're just blown away or you're asleep. So, okay. With the inclement weather outside, I want to point out another website that it's my go-to. I'm probably going to go up for the first time this year to ski on Friday, but this is, and Al has the link, he'll post it, I'm sure, oss.weathershare.org. And I've given this before, but this is just an incredible website. So if we go in, and I'm looking up towards Donner up here, like, so here's Donner Lake, and if I hover over this, this is the live traffic cam at Interstate 80 at the old ag station. So it looks like the trucks are kind of backed up, getting ready to go, but that's real live. And then the other thing is the CMS, you know, the big message boards that are on the freeway. This is a live version of what's on those big overhead message boards.
There was a fatal accident there a couple hours ago. That's why.
So they might be cleaning it up. So might even be closed. Doesn't look like it's closed now. But yeah, boy, that's sad. So anyway, these CMS signs are great. It shows you what's going on. I always use it for this one right at North Star here to find out how much snow they're getting. But it's the whole western U.S., and there's some other components to this map too. I'll zoom out a little bit. So there are different layers of this map. Like I could go down here and say, well, actually when we had fires, we did it there. I can do here and do current weather, and this will show me the winds. So the wind speed things, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. So direction of the wind and intensity of the wind. And the scale down here at the bottom are the colors for the intensity of the wind. So directions, you can do precipitation, relative humidity, air temperature, all of these things are in there, but I do it primarily for the forecast road conditions.
Does this app have a name, Ken, did you say?
Well, it's not an app. It's actually a website, and it's oss.weathershare.org. And Al, did you post that one?
Yeah, it's in there right now. Right, a couple times.
Yeah, so oss.weathershare.org, and it's fantastic. I was even when we had the fires, I was able to see what roads were closed and things. So it pretty much covers the western U.S. So fantastic app. And one last little thing before we go into your guys' questions and everything else is, Al will post a link to this. It's when you have visitors come over, you know, on the iPhone or on the iPhone and the iPad, it's kind of easy if someone's trying to connect to your internet, you don't have to give them your password. If you unlock your phone, your phone fires up and it'll say, oh, someone wants to connect using your Wi-Fi, and you can allow it from your phone and just say share the password. You don't have to give it to them, and that way it's in there. And remember, it's safe to give other people your Wi-Fi password because it's only good. I mean, we know how bad it is to get it in a second bedroom, let alone more than 100 feet from your house. But this is a way to create a QR code that I used this actually in one of the lounges in one of the airports. They had a QR code, and instead of entering the Wi-Fi, I simply held the photo app, the camera app on the phone up to the QR code. I tapped it, and it instantly hooked my phone up to the Wi-Fi. And so it's a QR code that you would make for your home Wi-Fi, so when people come over, you can just make a shortcut to it. So it's really, really good. And, you know, the newest thing in Wi-Fi is the Wi-Fi 6 protocol. It's pretty good. There's now a 6E. But if your routers are getting a little old and you want to get, and if you have good internet service with pretty good throughput, you're going to want to upgrade to the faster stuff. So that's kind of the potpourri of new tech stuff. I think Pete went over it and I've done it. Live text. In fact, Al, you know what? I meant to pull that up. I've got it because this one is just great. I'm going to do a Apple, let's see, YouTube. Sorry, I didn't pull this one up earlier. Under Apple support, live text. Live text I'm using a lot, and it's really, really, really good. Here we go. So I'm still being shared, right?
With live text, you can interact with text that...
Hang on, let's get this bigger. Am I being shared right now, you guys?
No,
Al, do you see my screen?
I do not.
Okay, sorry. Let me get out of...
Okay. Okay, I do now. You're tucked
You
in
see
behind
my
a couple
screen?
windows. Yeah, I don't see your screen. I see you.
No. I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay, very good.
That's what we're doing here. So
There you go.
full.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so here we go. Live text is awesome. iOS 15. I might have come in 14, but it's in 15.
With live text, you can interact with text that appears in a photo. Here's how. In a photo that contains text, tap the live text button in the bottom right corner of the photo to highlight available text. Or you can touch and hold text in the photo. You can now interact with text in the image, like copying or tapping any links that appear. For example, if you tap an email address, it will open a new email message to that address. Interact with text in a photo.
So basically, this works. It even works on photos you have in your library. And it's live. So, for instance, if you were holding your phone up and you were looking at a billboard and there was some information you wanted on there, you could copy it. Or I did it recently where I saw a picture that had a website address and it highlighted that. I didn't have to type it in. I just hit copy and it opened it up in a web page for me. So that's live text. And Al, I'll put the link in the chat to you. So you have that. And you can include it in the PDF
Sure.
then. And I haven't been monitoring on here. If anybody had any questions in the chat. I don't think there was. Okay, so please, you guys speak up. It doesn't have to be questions on what was covered tonight. You know, there's plenty of opportunity to ask any question you want. Anybody.
Well, here's a question.
Yeah, hi, Rich. Go ahead.
In the focus, I clicked on do not disturb while I am at this location.
Yeah.
And so then I left the location, but I missed some calls after that because it didn't turn off the do not disturb. So.
And is that the only time you've done it?
No, it was pretty consistent.
So you've done it before and it didn't work each time?
Correct.
And then the setting you have is only while you're at this location.
Yes.
So interesting because
I checked it.
Go ahead.
I Googled the problem, and apparently Apple has not addressed this issue. Other people complained about the same thing.
Interesting, because it used to work before focus on regular do not disturb, and it uses geolocation, and you had about a 300-foot geofence, and once you got outside it. So I wonder, maybe it's one of the things they fixed in 15.2, but yeah, it sounds like you may have found one of the notorious bugs.
Yeah. Well, I'll be checking on it. And before I went to 15, it worked fine. So
yeah,
we'll see if 15.2
This
fixes it.
must have been an quote an improvement.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, nobody else has experienced that, I guess.
Well, I haven't used that one, and the focus is a little different than the old Do Not Disturb. But I just actually my phone I leave on. I don't leave it on Do Not Disturb all the time. I have it on silent, but for instance, my computer I'm almost always on Do Not Disturb because in a Zoom meeting you hate hearing the pings and everything. So.
Oh, thanks
Um,
anyway. Yeah.
So seeing Keith McMahon on there reminds me too, because he's waiting for one of the new iMacs to come out, and Apple in so a couple of things I learned on my recent trip. So I currently have a MacBook Pro 13-inch that's the M1. So it was the one that came out a few months ago, and it's a great machine. It's not a power horse, but it's a good workhorse, and it fit nicely in 80% of the hotel safes. But it got me thinking because while it did just fit in most of the hotel safes, I was thinking about getting the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and it would have probably fit in less than half of the hotel safes. So that's a consideration when I'm traveling. And I've since measured the 14-inch, and the 14-inch is 1/3 of an inch wider than the 13-inch. Slightly thicker, but a little wider. So I think it would have fit in most of the hotels. So I'm looking at that and thinking about that, and I'm glad I made this trip to realize that that was something I hadn't really thought of. But I'll give you 2 tips when you're traveling if you're traveling with a laptop. Because we had one location where the safe was too small to even fit it. Of course, then there was the other hotel where the safe wasn't even locked down to the cabinet or anything. They just could have walked out of the room with the safe. But so I always look for places to hide stuff that people wouldn't expect. I can remember in Hawaii years ago, in the bathroom, I stood up on the tub, and it had the suspended ceiling, so I hid my laptop up in the suspended ceiling like that. Well, on the ship we were on the little Nile cruise boat, the cabinet had a spot at the very top, and it was up quite high, and so you could set the laptop up there, and it would just sit down, and you couldn't see the edge, and you would have had to feel that. But I found on Amazon before I left, and it's a device that you put in, and you hang it from a regular hanger, and it's designed to put laptops, iPads, and things like that in. So you hang it up with your clothes, your shirt's over it, and your shirt's buttoned up, and nobody that's going to be trying to steal stuff from your room is going to steal your shirt probably. So it gets hidden within that stuff, and that's pretty unique. I only had to use that in one place, but those are just little travel things, and of course the AirTags are something that you can do with that. But just be warned on the new laptops, if you're traveling, that 16-inch is a little bit big. So now coming up, we have the 24-inch iMac right now. It's fantastic. Coming, we think sometime in the spring, will be a bigger version of the iMac to replace the 27-inch, and possibly an iMac Pro, and then followed by that a big Apple Mac Pro at some point. But pretty interesting. But the new 14 and 16 inches are powerhouses, and there is talk of a higher end version of the Mac Mini also. So, but I know Keith's kind of waiting for that. The Mac Mini, I think, might be a little underwhelming for you, Keith, currently. But I think that when the iMac comes out, if you can wait for it, it's the way to go. And we'll see. We don't know when yet. We never know when, right? All right. Any questions or anything before we go to the raffle? We're a little bit ahead of schedule. We didn't take a break. That's part of why. So again, any last questions?
Ken, are you noticing
Everybody
any stuttering?
What's that?
Are you noticing any stuttering with the stream?
A little bit. Am I stuttering?
A little bit, occasionally.
Yeah.
I know I am a little bit video wise as well when I look at me.
Yeah, I'm on Ethernet, so we just may be. What do we got? We've got 32 people. So
Been
all right,
steady as a rock from my viewpoint.
good.
Good.
So
Hey guys,
Lisa,
hey guys, looking at the calendar for next year, we're on the 4th Wednesday all year. Is that correct?
correct, except for
That's
except for January.
And that's going to put us on the night before Thanksgiving and the week in between Christmas and New Year's. Just so you know, we may want to look at those dates.
Night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, 23rd of November, 2022.
Well, I'm notoriously out of the country during Thanksgiving, so
Now we have plenty of time to deal with that.
yeah,
Yep.
thanks
Yeah.
for pointing that out. Let's I don't know if Mr. Rest is here, but let's address that at the board meeting.
Yeah.
Elaine, thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, you bet.
So, okay, Lisa, do we have a big number?
For the, are you talking about the all members number?
Yeah, give me both numbers.
Okay, the all members is 321. I think, yes. And for those present, 31.
Okay, so just to explain, because we have some new members, we always have a drawing, a raffle. And what we do is we have Siri get us a random number. The first 4 drawings will be for a $25 Amazon gift card to the whole membership. Or I'm sorry, to all the attendees. And we verified with our membership list, the people that are here, we have 31 of the 32. And then we do 2 $100 gift cards because it's Christmas. We normally do, well, I guess we've been doing 2 for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then $100 Amazon gift cards. And then we do 1 drawing that's for the entire membership, whether someone was here or not. And that's our 321 members. So that'll be the last one. And if there's a problem with Siri doing one of the draws, that one's thrown out, even if it does a number. We just have to make sure that's thrown out. And if you win 1 prize, let's say you win a $25 gift card, and then you win a $100 gift card, you have to give one of them back. And I wholeheartedly suggest that you give back the $25 one. And when you give back the $25 one, we re-raffle it back off. So you're only eligible for 1 prize. So that being said, any questions on that or the routine? I will bring Siri up and we will do a random number between 1 and 31. And we've tested it. We know that it's inclusive of both 1 and 30, whatever the last number is. And we'll do the first 4 $25 gift cards. So here we go. Give me a random number between 1 and 31.
It's 27.
So now Lisa is the keeper of the membership list, and she's taken it. And your number for the full member, your number on that will be different than this one. So within the 31 people that were here, she's the only one that knows who number 27 is. Who is it, Lisa?
Ray Bulkey.
Ray Bulkey. Boy, he does a good job at this. Good job, Ray.
Thank you.
All righty. Give me a random number between 1 and 31.
It's 11.
So 11, Lisa.
Elaine Hebert.
All righty.
Elaine.
From Oregon, right? Elaine, you're in Oregon now, right?
That's right. I'm in Oregon now.
All right. Okay. Congratulations. One more. Give me a random number between 1 and 31.
That would be 30.
30.
Bob Ress.
Bob Ress. Congratulations, Mr. Ress,
Overdue.
our secretary. And one last $25 our Amazon gift card is, give me a random number between 1 and 31.
It's 27.
That we,
No.
so no,
That Ray's already got $25.
sorry, Ray. The only way you can win one more is if you get the 100 and you have to give it back. So we're going to draw for the $25 one again.
Mhm.
Give me a random number between 1 and 31.
It's 21.
21.
Well, congratulations, Keith Plucker.
Hi.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So now we're doing the first of two $100 gift cards to attendees. Give me a random number between 1 and 31.
It's 5.
5, Lisa.
Carlos Miranda.
Carlos, congratulations, Carlos. $100. You guys will be getting this by email this evening. All right, for our second attendee, give me a random number between 1 and 31.
It's 7.
7.
Carolyn Monson.
Carolyn, congratulations.
Thank
$100.
you.
You're welcome. And now the membership one, so this will be between 1 and 321.
And Mary will be your guide.
Give me a random number between 1 and 321.
It's 105.
105.
Okay, that is Ken Rothus, if I'm saying that right. You said 105, right?
Rothhouse.
105.
Yes, Ken Rothhouse.
What's the name? Rothaus?
Rothaus.
Okay. Congratulations, everyone. That person obviously isn't here, but they're a member. So when I email them, I usually tell them, no, this isn't a scam. You're getting you'll be getting an email from Amazon. So everybody else here knows what it is. Welcome to our 2 new members. And, hey, I'm open for any input, and we're always trying to make this better. And our content was a little short tonight, but you can go on. By the way, you can go to YouTube and search for MacNexus. And just like tonight and our
In the link.
first classes, they're all recorded there. Somebody
in the chat
typed out had a question. What, Al?
No, I was just saying what you just say. It's in the chat link, chat list, on the MacNexus and all that stuff.
Fantastic. So if you click on chat, you guys, when it's done, you can say save chat, and all of that's there. But Al will be putting together a PDF of all the links, and it's amazing that content in there is so valuable. And then in the next email Bob will send out, it will have the links to those that PDF. So again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll have it's actually, instead of the first Saturday class, it will be January 8th will be the second Saturday in January, because we're not going to be doing the first Saturday class on January 1st. So anybody else, if you have any questions, I can leave this open for a minute. You guys can unmute yourselves, talk amongst yourselves. This is kind of the social hour the social 5 minutes. So
I wanted to thank you for allowing me to join you tonight. I've really enjoyed this. It's been very pleasant
Welcome.
and useful. So thanks so much for your kindness.
well, thank you. We want to. It's the dying breed, and we think Zoom's been a good way to do it. And again, please tell anybody else in the mug up there, and have them come to a couple of the meetings virtually. And if they like it, then they can join. There's no, we're not hardcore on that, but it's, the prizes should be the compelling thing to join.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Good to see you.
Ken, I have a question for you.
Go for it.
One of the pictures you showed from your Africa trip was a Milky Way shot.
Yeah.
And you said it
Yes.
with your iPhone by laying it flat on a table for 30 seconds. How do you take a picture 30 seconds long without getting star trails? because of the Earth's movement, or appears like the stars.
Well, it does a little bit of star trail because I think it's anything over what is it,
Over
12
25.
seconds, something like that.
Yeah.
So it did do a little bit of star trailing, and in fact, the problem is I have to learn how I can do it. I'm sure there's one of the apps I can do it because it's 30 seconds or nothing, and I really wanted to reduce it because I was actually getting, it was pitch black out, and I was getting too much light in that photo at 30 seconds. So the default, when you don't have it on a tripod, the thing goes from as low as 2 seconds and as high as 10 seconds handheld, but it senses that it's not moving and it allows it to expand up to 30 seconds. So I have to play with it a little bit, but I could not get it to go down. I wanted to get it to about 18 or so, and it just, because it was too much light coming in, which is hard to believe when you think about it.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. And by the way, I did get a new iPhone. In fact, Al, if you haven't codified the links yet, you'll appreciate this one. I will put a link in here for the most awesome iPhone tripod and table stand one ever. It's just phenomenal. I have all the old plastic ones and stuff, but this thing, my friend Ken Henry found this, and I'm usually the one that has to lead him on stuff, and he found this thing, and I love it. Let me see here. Got to search my orders.
Who's the manufacturer?
Yeah, good question. I'll see it when I get the link here for you. Ulanzi. So I will post this link. I'll have to clean it up a little bit. Yeah, I will post this link in the chat right now. I'll give it directly to you, Al, so that you can put it in to everyone on your thing. It's awesome. And it was like $39, but man, this thing it's all CNC machined aluminum. It's got all kinds of adjustments. It's got a gimbal on it. It has a kick-out stand, and it also can mount on a tripod.
Nice.
Yeah, it was well worth it.
Is that just for Apple phones or?
No. It's for any phone. It's adjustable. It's not as big enough for an iPad, but it'll fit any smartphone.
Yeah, because some of us unfortunately have friends and relatives who aren't converted to the Apple lifestyle yet.
Well, Mary, you have to get new friends.
Well, no, it's the relatives I'm worried about.
Well, the relatives, yeah, I guess you can't pick them.
Yeah.
So, like I always say, you can't push a rope.
Yeah, that's a pretty versatile product, man.
This one is, Al, I absolutely love it, and I've had, you and I both have had different ones over time, and I really like the Joby. I like the Joby one, but I like this one better because if you'll notice on the knob, that's actually a ball joint itself.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures there on Amazon. There's pretty versatile.
And the weird thing is that little kick-out kickstand hides in itself. You see where the 3 holes are in the upright? Yeah. It hides in there, and it's magnetically, it stays right there.
Can we see a picture of it?
If you click the link, click on the link, on the Amazon link I've got in the chat. That'll take you to a series of different
Actually,
pictures.
I'll share my screen real quick here, and I'll show you some of the attributes. I'll just do that. So this one, come on. So the red knob with the U on it is, you loosen that, and it's got essentially a ball swivel on it. So the phone, you can rotate the phone, do whatever you want. Then the red knob on the top is what you do to tighten it around the phone. But if you'll notice down right about halfway where the brake is, there's a brass thing there. So what it is it quick adjusts to the size of your phone, and then you tighten it. And you don't have to tighten it a long ways this way. It's really very interesting how it does it. And it just locks. It locks on that thing. So you can go from a small phone to a much wider phone back and forth quite easy. And then that shows you the distance, the difference between from 6.5 centimeters to 10. And then this has full rotation. And on the bottom, so there it shows some different things. You can go upright 90 degrees. It's got a 1024 mount, so it can mount on a tripod or on one of the handheld things. Perfect tripod mount. And then actually what's interesting, at the very top, it's got a cold shoe. So this would be for podcasters where they could put a microphone on, it looks like, on the camera, it's called a hot shoe. This one's called a cold shoe because it doesn't interact with the camera at all. But, I'll tell you, I winced when I saw it was $40, but as soon as I got it, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I may have to pick one up too.
And actually, I should point out that the very bottom of it is an ARCA mount. So if your tripod uses ARCA, you don't even have to screw into it. It will use the actual base plate of this right into an existing tripod that has the ARCA mount.
Is it plastic and aluminum, or
all aluminum? All aluminum. The only thing that's not aluminum is the little bumpers where the phone rests.
Gotcha.
But everything else is aluminum and stainless steel.
Very nice.
Yeah.
One more item on the list.
One you'll keep for a while. So I should send this to Mary, huh, Al, so she can do it for you for Christmas.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Very good. Very good. Good tip. Good tip.
Yeah.
Always on the prowl for good equipment.
Good fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you do such a good job when you have good equipment. So
yeah, it makes a difference. Anything that minimizes my frustration is worth the money.
So this is what I used on that shot, because while I could lay the phone right on the table and it thought it was on a tripod and get the long one, I needed to get a different angle. And so I used this with that little kickstand on a table to get my Milky Way shot.
Nice. Yeah, it's looks like just utmost in versatility.
Yeah, and very, very well built. I'm very impressed. It's all CNC out of billet aluminum. So, all righty. Anybody else? Any other questions? Lisa, I'll look forward to the email and I'll get the stuff out to everybody tonight. Or are you doing that now?
No, you still are.
Okay. Well, you did it last time. I didn't want to be pulling it away from you, but yeah, no problem. Okay. All right.
Yeah, the email's away, so.
Good deal. Merry Christmas, everyone. Vic, good to meet you. Keith, take care. Al and Bob, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Sorry, Ray. No more things to win.